What if I told you that the secret to making more money as a software engineer was to code less? I know this sounds counterintuitive considering the amount of time and effort that we as software engineers spend on improving our programming skills, but I want you to hear me out. By the end of today's video, I'll show you how you can specifically program less and make more money doing so. Keep in mind, this video is not for beginners. This is ideally for those with at least 1 to 3 years of experience. If you're a beginner, you're more than welcome to still continue watching the video, but you'll simply have less takeaways. Without further ado, let's get started. But before we do so, why should you listen to me? I landed my first 6-figure software engineering role in my junior year of university. I then climbed the corporate ladder and then quit to found my own 7-figure consulting firm. In the last month alone, in the month of August, today is September, we did over $188,000 in monthly recurring revenue. I'm not saying this to flex, I'm not saying this to show off, but rather to showcase that when I first started my journey, which let's refer to as point A, and this was my first ever 9-to-5 job, to let's say where I am now at point D, let's assume, at each of these milestones over here that you see, I was coding less and less, but in doing so, I was making more and more money. Interesting to see how that works, right? So let's jump into it. The path that I took was from an entrepreneur to an entrepreneur, and thus this is the same exact path that I'm going to be discussing here. If you don't know what an entrepreneur is, it's the same thing as an entrepreneur, except instead of having your own company, you work for an existing company. Let's get started. So first and foremost, when you're in the corporate world, how can you make more money by coding less, considering that code is already one of the greatest forms of leverage in the modern world? The answer actually lies in pain, but not in the pain you might think, not in the physical sense. By pain, I mean more so pain of the company you're working for. So you need to utilize your software engineering expertise to identify any inefficiencies in processes, code bases, or systems that exist in the company. And once you have a few years of experience, hence why I said this is not for beginners, these problems will become obvious to you at the snap of a finger. Most likely you're already watching this video, thought of a few things wrong at the current company that you're working for and things that you can actually improve. And once you've actually spotted a pain point, the next step is to brainstorm a solution. Here are some examples of solutions to problems that I've seen firsthand. Automating repetitive coding tasks, improving CI/CD pipelines, optimizing deployment processes and bottlenecks, improving code quality, reducing technical debt, fixing inconsistent coding standards, and so many more. If I were to make a video solely on the pain points and the problems that I've seen, this video would be never ending. But you get the idea. These kinds of solutions not only save time, but also position you as a problem solver, setting you apart from a typical developer. And this is the key to actually making more money by coding less. Let me give you an example from my own experience that actually led to my rapid promotions, in which I was being paid more, but I had to do less technical work, so I had to code less. So there was a time where my coworkers and I were spending way too much time reinventing the wheel by writing custom code for repetitive tasks. So basically what we were doing is we were constantly solving the same exact problems day in, day out, due to a lack of knowledge and resource sharing. So teams weren't communicating with each other, we weren't communicating with each other, just heads down, we were doing our work. And despite the varying SOWs, so despite the varying statements of works that we had for these different projects, many of the core functionalities stayed the exact same across different projects. And afterwards, we decided to do an initiative. So I, alongside many other of my coworkers, started to build a library of reusable components and templates based on what each of us specialized in. So I specifically took care of what I specialized in, and other people took care of what they specialized in. And fast forward a few weeks, after we had essentially built out these components and templates, this initiative became known as a quick start. And not only did this essentially cut our workload in half, because now we didn't have to do much setup work, but this quick start became a low ticket offering for our company. Hence why this is in the entrepreneurial route. I did something to reduce my own programming time, right? And at the same time, I brought more money to the company. 2 birds with 1 stone. And after this quick start was initiated, I had to do something further to actually start making more money while coding less. I had to take ownership. So once you've identified a problem and brainstormed a solution, you need to step up and take ownership of that problem. So this means transitioning from being just a coder to somebody who leads and drives change. So don't just suggest the idea, actually take charge in making it happen. Request ownership of higher level projects that actually directly impact the business as well. By doing this, you position yourself as more than just a typical developer, right? And in this role, you'll oversee end-to-end project delivery, which includes planning, managing the timeline, and even leading client-facing meetings. And as you continually grow in this aspect and get more of these tasks, you'll realize that programming becomes a smaller part of your responsibilities. And as you shift your focus towards strategy, gathering requirements, and leading the execution, programming will continually dwindle and dwindle. And taking ownership of these types of projects not only helps the business, but also positions you for more advanced roles in the near future and also greater recognition. And for those of you who just ask yourself the question of, okay, wouldn't my programming skills depreciate if I do this? No, because remember the problem we identified in step one, the pain point? Well, the solution that you create for that can be a software solution that actually solves that problem. This way, your programming skills don't deteriorate. The third thing that you need to do to actually make more money by coding less is start adopting cross-functional skills. I have a saying that goes, all good software engineers are good programmers, but not all good programmers are good software engineers. In fact, the most successful software engineers that I know actually know how to work with different teams, be it product team, marketing team, or even the sales team. And this is where cross-functional skills come into play. Let's say, for example's sake, that the product team is having a hard time communicating what features are the most important. Step in as a software engineer and a subject matter expert and help clarify those needs by speaking their language and understanding how it connects to the code you write. By developing these cross-functional skills, you can become the bridge between departments, helping improve collaboration and efficiency. As you know, the biggest problem in the software space today isn't necessarily a lack of technical skills, but rather a communication problem. Specifically, IT department and non-IT department not knowing how to communicate with each other and things moving slower than they need to. And by doing this, by becoming this bridge, you become a key player in the company. Someone who's not just focused on tech, but also on the bigger business picture. And by becoming the person who can actually navigate both the technical world and the business world, you not only increase your value, but you also secure your role, so job security. Your ability to connect these multiple departments and align efforts just make the company simply value you too much. You're now more than a typical developer. They can't just fire you and hire another developer. You become something much more. You're a strategic asset that's now hard to replace. And once you made it to this point, once you've identified the pain point, once you've taken ownership and come up with a solution, and once you started learning other skills to continuously grow and expand, you now need to be a mentor and a guide for the other developers in the company. Keep in mind, this is the path of an entrepreneur. At the end of the day, everything you're doing now is to help the company, right? And by helping the company, you help yourself. So by a mentor as a guide, what you need to do is after you've built up some experience, you need to help level other people up around you, more specifically the junior engineers. But it's not just about helping the junior engineers, right? It's more so about building your own leadership skills and showing that you can guide a team towards success. You can start simple. You can start helping newer team members get up to speed on certain processes or sharing solutions to common challenges. This can include maybe documentation standards, how to document something, or maybe how to leave comments when coding, or maybe sharing something as simple as naming conventions when it comes to naming folders or even just functions, something simple as that as well. And as you mentor, you're not only making the team better, but you're also freeing up your own time for bigger and better things. What you can do is some of the lower task activities that you've been assigned, you can leverage to your team members and they can take care of that. And since you're mentoring them and guiding them, their journey up will still be faster than if they were on their own. And overall, this position of being a mentor really sets you up to be a leader, right? Even if you don't have the official title yet, right? If you haven't gotten promoted yet. It just opens up doors for further promotions as well as raises and even sometimes even equity options. So don't be afraid to even right now as you're watching this, create training documents or just initiate weekly training sessions with some of the junior developers in your firm to help them out. And finally, at this step already, if you've done 4 of the aforementioned steps, you'll be at a point where you're golden. This means that you significantly increase your chances of earning a promotion and, of course, with that, you're making more money. Beyond that, your overall value as a software engineer has grown, making you more attractive to other companies, specifically the competition. And they'll take notice. You can actually make sure of that by sharing your wins. But how are you going to share your wins? Well, by actually showcasing your results. So be it on your personal website, be it on your LinkedIn, be it on your social platforms like X. You don't need to dive into the nitty-gritty details of what you did, right? But instead, you just need to focus on the impact and how it benefited the company. Oftentimes, when you figure out this pain point and you come up with a solution, all you really have to do is maybe ask the company to make an article about you, an internal article, or maybe ask them to give you a shout out on LinkedIn, or maybe ask them to give you kind of a testimony, so to say, right? Of just specifically with numbers what you made the company, right? How much revenue you helped generate, or how much time you helped save, or how efficient a certain process became. And as you move through each step, you're actually saving your company more time and money. So that's what you have to identify. From the point that you figure out the problem, you create the solution, you take ownership of everything, you start leading others. At each of these milestones, you're actually now making your company more money while saving them more time, both of which are directly tied to your own contributions. And this becomes leverage. When the time comes for salary negotiations and asking for promotions, you have various weapons in your arsenal now. And every win you achieve strengthens your case for greater compensation and recognition. And while all this is great and all, the real opportunity actually lies in something else. So all the skills, wins, and strategies that you developed can now be applied to something even bigger, which is your own business. So by leveraging your technical expertise and leadership skills, you can transition from coding for others to building a business of your own, where the earning potential is even higher and the control is entirely in your hands. And with that, that's a perfect segue to the business section, or more so the entrepreneur section. Now, the entrepreneur section isn't much too different than the entrepreneur section, because at the end of the day, they're both the same, except one, you have your own company, one, you're working for another company. The only mild difference when it comes to being an entrepreneur will have to be in the business model that you choose, right? Because this way, you're not part of a specific system already. But the first step in identifying a pain point, that's still going to stay the same. Every single successful entrepreneurial journey has to start with identifying pain points. And as a software engineer, you have a unique advantage in this. You can spot inefficiencies and problems in systems, processes, and workflows. Furthermore, you can create software solutions, which by nature are leveraged, as we talked about previously, to both technical and non-technical problems. And there are really two ways you can navigate this path as an entrepreneur. The first way, which is actually kind of what I did, is to capitalize on the intrapreneurial path. This means that taking a moment to reflect on your current role or past experiences, because there's a very good chance that you've encountered several inefficiencies that could be solved with a better process or a better tool. And these pain points represent business opportunities waiting to be seized. Once again, the same exact examples I brought up beforehand. And by honing in on these pain points, you position yourself to create solutions that businesses will pay for, because you're solving real complex problems. In my case, what I saw happening in the Fortune 500, right? I literally took the exact problems that I saw there, which was a lack of data analytics. Companies weren't making data-driven decisions. I applied that on a smaller scale, and now I help small to medium-sized companies do the exact same. The second approach is what I call the out-of-the-box approach. While finding pain points in the corporate world and offering B2B services is one path, there's another avenue that actually opens up a world of limitless possibilities. And that is finding pain points outside of the corporate environment. What does this mean? Well, this means tapping into different industries, hobbies, and passions that lie beyond your professional circle. The opportunities here are truly endless, and often the most innovative businesses are born from identifying such opportunities. So be it your personal frustrations, hobbies, or lifestyle gaps that haven't been addressed by the market as a whole. So take a moment to think about the hobbies, interests, or experiences that you're passionate about. In doing so, you might realize that whether it's in fitness, gaming, photography, music, travel, or any other niche that might interest you, there will be some sort of pain point or inefficiency that is waiting to be solved and has not yet been addressed by the market, or if it has, is simply not good quality. Now, when it comes to business, the most important part is the business model, right? Because think of this as the vehicle that will get you where you want to go. If you want to go down to the local grocery store, you can do so either walking or using a bike. You wouldn't necessarily want to take a plane, right? However, if you want to go 2,000 miles away, a bike's probably not going to work. Walking sure as hell isn't going to work. Sure, you can do a car, but a plane would be a much better play here. And the business model is the same exact thing. You can think of it as a vehicle. So once you've identified the pain point you want to solve, the next step is to determine how you'll actually deliver the solution. Will it be a product-based solution, like a SaaS, or will you offer the solution as a service, rather? And this is an important point. Just because you've built a software solution does not mean you have to sell the software itself. So just because you have a software that actually addresses the pain point, that addresses the problem, and because you have the software as the solution, that does not mean you have to sell the software itself. You can use the software as leverage to supercharge the service that you offer. A good caveat here that many people need to know. And your business model should ideally align with your long-term vision, Because remember, this entrepreneurial journey is a marathon, not a sprint. So rather than focusing solely on how much money you're going to make in a short term, be it monthly or annually, your priority should be on how long you can sustain and grow your business over time while outlasting your competition. And by building a strong, scalable model that actually integrates your software solutions, you set yourself up for long-term growth while continuously enhancing the value that you deliver to clients. And once you've identified the pain point and chosen your business model, you need to come up with a solution now. And as a business owner, this will be the only step where your programming skills are actually essential, and that's in creating the minimum viable product, the MVP. So whether you're building a product or actually enhancing a service, the MVP is designed to test the market with a simple, functional version of your solution that solves the core pain point you've identified. So your MVP doesn't really need to be polished or feature rich, really. The main goal is to develop the most basic version that allows you to gather feedback and validate your idea before scaling. So this means that the solution you have created to the problem actually addresses it properly. So this is why the MVP really matters. It tests market demand. Whether you're selling a software product or using it to improve your service, the MVP will help you determine if your solution resonates with the market. It's the fastest way to know if there's interest in the offer you're providing, and if not, you can actually refine it. Second thing an MVP allows you to do is to quickly iterate. What does this mean? Well, launching an MVP allows you to collect real-world feedback quickly. And since you've only set something up that's small, right, you've only made just one feature, it's not feature-heavy, it's not overloaded, there's not much to change about it, right? There's only things you can add. So you can iterate on your product or service in this case to better meet the customer needs before actually investing in a full-scale launch. The third point is the cost efficiency. An MVP reduces the need for heavy upfront investment. You can focus on the core features or improvements that addresses the pain point without building any unnecessary components that will simply cost you more money and you don't even yet know if they'll actually be useful. And last but not least, it's actually lower risk. By validating your idea early, you significantly lower the risk of building something no one needs. And it ensures that you're creating value before committing more time and resources. And let me make a point of this. For most businesses, the most important thing is risk management, right? It's managing the ratio of risk to reward properly, such that you can take as little risk as possible while not chopping off too much from the reward. Now, for specifically product-based businesses, if your business is product-based, so if you're making a SaaS, the MVP would simply be a scaled-down version of the SaaS. So it should solve the main problem that your users face without overcomplicating the solution with any extra features. So let's say you have a SaaS, your MVP would be maybe just one or two key features that actually addresses the pain point you're targeting. And from there, you can get user feedback, iterate, and then expand on the product based on the user input. For service-based businesses, it's actually quite simple. So based on if you will be incorporating a software solution or not, or if you will just simply be a software agency creating software for other people, does not really matter. Your MVP will be the quote-unquote core offer here. What does that mean? Well, it'll be the core service you provide. No bonuses yet, nothing on top. Just a core offering, the main solution to the main problem that you're trying to solve, nothing extra. Last but not least, when it comes to the entrepreneurship route and actually coding less and making more money, there needs to be a mindset shift. By now, you've already probably noticed the differences when it comes to being an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur, right? Entrepreneurship is all about quick wins. It's fast-paced. And since you're operating within an established system, there's less risk involved. You can leverage existing resources, implement solutions quickly, and see immediate results, whether that's through increased efficiency, productivity, or recognition within the company. Now, of course, this is going to vary based on company to company. Some of the big companies, there's a lot of red tape, so this process might be slower, but nevertheless, it is definitely much easier to do these in a corporate environment than it is in your own business, especially if your hands are tied with regards to capital. And entrepreneurship, on the other hand, is focused on long-term rewards. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Always remember that. The goal isn't to make a specific amount of money in the short term, but rather to build something that actually lasts. So your success will come from outlasting your competition, and in doing so, you'll be continually growing and improving over time. So to succeed as an entrepreneur, your mindset needs to shift. You have to think in terms of decades, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. Because building a business actually takes time, effort, and often comes with more risks than being in an entrepreneurship route, right? But with that risk also comes the potential for disproportionate gains. Once again, there's very few 9-to-5 jobs that you can do that will make you $188,000 a month, right? But remember, in saying that, it's not about the short-term profits, but it's about positioning yourself for sustained growth and long-term impact and actually outlasting your competition. Entrepreneurship requires greater dedication and resilience, but if you commit to the journey, the payoff can be far greater than any quick win. And that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up how you can make more money by coding less. To give you a quick little summary of everything that we talked about, as kind of a refresher, there's two paths: entrepreneurial path, entrepreneurial path. Usually, you would go in chronological order. So you would be an entrepreneur first, and then you would be an entrepreneur. When you're an entrepreneur, you have to find a pain point in your company, right? Especially if you've been working there for a few years, you already at the top of your head know a few inefficiencies in any processes or systems or whatever the case. There has to be some pain points that your company has. You then need to take ownership of that pain point and offer to create a solution, right? And in doing so, once you create that solution and you present it, you need to start developing cross-functional skills. So you need to slowly but surely expand your reach and increase your influence in the company. So this means stepping out of the comfort zone as a software engineer and start talking with the product team, the sales team, the marketing team, and learning that, right? And as you continually grow and expand, you need to pass this knowledge on to those below you, specifically your team members, right? The junior developers. You need to take them under your guide. You need to mentor them, and you need to showcase to the personnel above you, your bosses, that you are capable of leadership and you are capable of fostering new employees. And with that, at each stage of the milestone, you'll be positioned to not only get promotions and raises, but potentially equity. And this way, you'll never have to worry about job security, because let's say, God forbid, you get fired or something like that happens, you'll always be able to find another job due to the competition wanting you, especially if you followed the showcase your results section over here. Now, for the entrepreneur route, the summary is going to be a little similar, but with some nuances. The pain point stays the same, right? You're still going to need to find a pain point to offer a solution for, right? What problem can you solve? And there's two ways you can go about it. You can either capitalize on the entrepreneur route, right? Especially for those of you who are going to follow this in chronological order. Whatever problem you came up over here, you can offer it as a B2B solution with your own company, right? Or you can think outside of the box and go for something more personal, maybe something as a hobby or just another opportunity in another field. Whatever the case, you need to decide then on a business model, either a service-based business model or a product-based business model. For reference, my personal opinion, most of you should go with the service-based business model. You have more control over it. It's easier to get quick wins. And while it has a lower ceiling, it will teach you a lot about business in general. And you can always move on to SaaS later if you need to. You then need to create an MVP. Don't go out and create a full-scale product or service yet. Create an MVP to make sure to test the market with, see if the market actually demands what you're offering. And after that, you need to have the mindset shift of thinking long-term, not short-term anymore. In a corporate setting, you're always thinking short-term, every 1 to 2 years, switching jobs, climbing the corporate ladder. But in a business sense, you're thinking long-term, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. How can I outlast my competition while continually growing as a business? With that, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you thought. And as always, thank you for watching.